But no, Beth York goes crashing down. Determination, the suffering, the ability to... And she's unleashed everything in this attack. See just how much that win means to him. All the marvels. Kayla versus Allison and to the line. Kayla Laguna takes the victory. Hello everybody and welcome back to the CVRcade World Cup live here on CVR World Cup almost a Facebook page. No, so we're on the Mixer page here. My name is Jesper Anker, and as always, I'll be guiding you through the next 2 hours of racing as it unfolds live on the different tracks that we're going to be seeing here in the CVRcade World Cup. We're now in the 4th week of the open sessions in the CVRcade World Cup. This is the last week to do your fine-tuning, your testing, getting to know the tracks, getting on your team, because from next week onwards, we move into the bracketed session. And there are big things happening behind the scenes when it comes to that. There is no more time for play. We're time to get serious as we head into the business end of the CVRcade World Cup. And speaking of the business end, Team CVRcade have thrown down the gauntlet, and if you haven't seen the announcement over on the social media pages of CVRcade, Team CVRcade, they said, you know what? I don't think any of you other teams can beat us out there. I think as a collective, our team is the best, and therefore, any rider that beats the best placed Team CVRcader out there on course will win $50. So across the Omnium, you have to beat the best place Team CVRcade or rider. So if Team CVRcade ends up winning the Omnium, well, nobody gets to get $50. It's going to be fun to watch how that unfolds. It's first time we have a dedicated team challenge. I'm excited to see how that all pans out. We've got 3 races. We've got Roman Arena up first, then we got Country Rally, and we move on to Saturn. So 3 races. Taking one off, but that doesn't mean the excitement will be any less. We've got Casey Shum and a few others racing in here. Casey had a bit of an incident last time he was on the bike, and I see Channel 1 has joined us from the gun. I mean, Channel 1, it's a pleasure for you to be here. Let's go and talk to Casey, because if you saw Casey, he had a bit of an incident last time he was racing. Casey, what happened to you last time you were racing the CVRcade World Cup?
Yeah, I had a bottom bracket fail, a bearing fail in my bottom bracket last time. So the crank was moving up and down, side to side, you know, a quarter or half an inch, to the point that dropping my chain and just couldn't continue. So went to the bike shop, got a new bearing, put it in Sunday, and we should be good to go today.
Now, today we're going to be hoping for no mechanicals, because if you beat the best placed Team CVRcade rider, you win $50. Does that add an extra bit of motivation when you're riding your bike virtually?
A little bit. I mean, I come here to beat them anyway, so I'm a pretty competitive guy. So it's an extra bonus when I achieve that, sure. But I'm pretty driven regardless of that.
That is brilliant. We've got 3 races today, Casey, Roman Arena, Country Rally, Saturn. How do you like the exclusion of the no-skill event tonight?
I like this format. I think the Comeback Kid will play a role in this first race. Country Rally's a little longer. It'll get interesting with mental mistakes there, I think. So I like these longer races, and just having 3 of them, I think, may work in my favor.
Well, we'll see how it goes, Casey. Channel 1, what you just tuned into, usually we have the pleasure of having you here at the end of the broadcast, but today it is absolutely amazing to have you tune in, because we have 3 races here in Zone K. The CVRcade World Cup takes people from around the world riding their bikes indoor and turns it into a game. As they pedal in their homes, their avatar in the game moves as well. Not only are they having fun, not only are they getting fit and losing weight, they're racing for $25,000 in the overall prize purse. They've already raced for 3 weeks, and we head into week 4 today out of the 9 weeks. Now, we're on Roman Arena. On the left, you're watching the physical representation of the virtual avatar on the right. Ryan wearing the Velocity Vixen kit on the left, and also wearing the Velocity Vixen kit in the game. As always, Channel 1 is they have a busy schedule. They float around. They show you all the great content creators live here on the platform. If you are interested in CVRcade, the free-to-play physical esports platform, down in the bottom left-hand corner, you can see our logo, you can see our name. If you click that, you will stay here and watch the rest of the racing. We've got 3 races ahead of us, and we've just started with the first one, 9 kilometers long, and on the front, we have an attack from the gun. 3 Velocity Vixen riders. And do my eyes deceive me? Vibeke Bertram, a part of the Team Velocity Vixen squad. You can see Ryan's face. He's smiling. They know the acquisition they made. Vibeke Bertram, been getting so good in the CVRcade World Cup. And now these 3 riders in the front, they're going to be taking turns. Brilliant move from Velocity Vixen here. And now Team CVRcade is reacting to it. Rick Woods first to attack. Kale Laguna second up. Frank Garcia further down. This is going to be explosive. It's only 3 laps of Roman Arena, but 3 very mentally and physically tough laps. And Velocity Vixen, they came to play. They've got 3 riders up the front, and they're now being infiltrated by Rick Woods. Looking back, Kayla and Frank, 5th and 6th. Then you have Casey Shum down in 8th. Tim Fulford down in 14th. Just staying with the bots initially, and now he's using that one comeback kit. You heard Casey briefly mention to it. So the comeback kit is a power-up. Yes, just like Super Mario, whatever different game you're playing, they get power-ups. So as they race physically, if they need that bit of extra boost, they have a set of additional buttons to press. The comeback kit is that all-important power-up. It's like the turtle shell, it's the banana peel. It's that power-up that gives you a chance to get back up. And Tim, opting to stay with Orville, with Thomas, with Robert, realizing that that wasn't the right decision, now uses comeback kit. He'll get back in to the group that contains Thomas Tibbling and Ben Shuilong, Nigel Doyle, Team CCC. They're in there. And now Thomas Tibbling using that weight lifted. I can tell you this, the bounty that Team CVRcade put on their own head has really appetized some people. It's turned on the hunger, and riders from across all teams want to beat them. As at the front, Ryan Goldenberg, he had a warm-up earlier on. He had a slip and slide ride that I took part in here. He is ready to go. Carl Axel Sander, Frank Garcia, Rick Woods, Beth York, Vibeke Bertram, Kay Laguna, and it's all coming back together as Alison Kubota is using her comeback kit as well. First lap is almost over. A record-setting pace here today in the CVRcade World Cup. Who knew that if you were racing for real money from your home without having to leave your house, you don't even have to go to the gym. Like, you know, the pains and the inconvenience of having to get into the car, remembering your PIN code to the gym, needing to have a lock on your locker room. Well, here you don't. You just wake up, roll out of bed, make yourself a cup of coffee, get on the bike, bam, you're racing, you're riding, you're getting fit, you're training, and most importantly, you're actually turning back that investment back in. So as you invested in your bike, as you invested in perhaps a computer, now you can win $50 from beating Frank, Kayla, Rick, Kinjal, etc. But if you win the overall, if you win the whole thing in the CVRcade World Cup, you could be making even more back as the first lap is done. Carl Axel Sander is also Velocity Vixen. Like, I praise Matti Piquel and the Alison Kubota for their recruiting skills. I'm almost fairly certain that behind closed doors, they must be offering some sort of extra benefits, because they just seem to be locking up every talent. They're on their team. But Velocity Vixen, Carl Axel Sander, Vibeke Bertram, watch out. We have a new powerhouse, and they're showing up at the right time. But everything is coming back together. We take stock on the situation, and 10 riders, almost 11 with Rig Woods just distance off the back, but 10 riders have made it this far. And I think there are some worried faces in there as they realize what's upon them. 3 races here in Zone K. This is the first Omnium. Then we've got Zone L later on. And with Velocity Vixen making such a big impact, it'll be interesting to see how this influences the rest of the CVRcade World Cup. And as always, Channel 1, if you are enjoying this, Channel 1 has a busy schedule. They're journeymen. Their mission is to show the best and the craziest and the funniest content creators here on the platform. But if you're thinking this is your stop, if you think, you know what, the next hour or so, I want to spend in the company of these crazy riders that are racing in physical esports, I want to be here, just click the bottom left-hand corner and you will stay at this destination for the next hour or so as you watch Zone K with Zone L afterwards. On the screen, Alison Kubota. Aero is everything. She's got Aero helmet, Aero skin suit. She wants to get every single benefit. Is it a benefit? Nah. Does she look cool as hell? Yes. As Alison Kubota just oozes swag. But already one comeback kit down. She's going to struggle to get back up to the front. Casey Shum here. He's on the left. We're halfway through the first race. And we bring down the scoreboard because that's the all-important thing here in the CVRcade World Cup. Every race has a scoring multiplier. 3 races on offer today. First one, 2x scoring multiplier. Next one, 3.5. And we finish with 2.5. What this means is that every single race matters. But that second race, country rally, you got to dodge the logs. You got to move around the hay bales. And there's that darn barn door that you got to dodge as well. Otherwise, you will crash as Casey just gets rid of some snotters. It can be quite challenging to race. Now, thanks to physical equalization, this is a word that if you are a returning viewer here on the channel, you would know about physical equalization. And it is an amazing tool that allows everyone across all different, abilities, price tags when it comes to their bikes and their equipment to ride, race, and train together on an equal footing. As you see, Thomas Tibbling crossing Roman Arena Hill for the second time. He is the recent Team CCC acquisition, but he looks to be in a bit of trouble here early on. As he uses comeback kit, he can make it back up to the group, but he's got to commit to this one as we get ready for the last lap of racing on Roman Arena. Everybody had been given 2 weightlifted, 2 quantum shifts, and a comeback kit. And on the front, you see Kayla. She's sitting on the wheel of Beth York. Beth, so awesome. She wanted to stream in, but the way we're currently doing it, we only have so many calls to give out. So unfortunately, not all the rock stars are on display in this zone. But as we move through Zone K, Zone L, Zone T, we're going to see more epicness across all different categories. And now, Channel 1, get ready for the last lap of racing. 2 laps down. As they cross the finish line, they will enter the last 3 kilometers. Ryan, Carl, Axel, Sander. They're on the front. They're going to try and bridge away. Do remember, pay note that people streaming today do get bonus points as we stop the finish line camera here to see the gap further down. But people do get bonus points. They get bonus points for streaming in. They get bonus points for racing the preferred zone. That's why you see riders with matching kit in real life in the game. That's why you see people, racing on specific days and again, as Frank on the screen. He was the one who issued the gauntlet. He threw down the challenge. Who can beat Team CVRcade? Can anyone beat Team CVRcade? Well, Velocity Vixen, they're definitely going to try their best. Jeff Rooney as well on the back. He's just being distanced as he's using his comeback kit to come back up. Thomas Tibbling as well. Alison Kubota. Casey Shum is also being distanced as I think he's going to try to use the comeback kit here now with 4 seconds up to the front group. No, it gets slowed down. Velocity Vixen with 4 riders on the front. This is Coupe de la Grace. This is awesome to watch. The 4 Velocity Vixen riders have broken away in the low skill event as Kayla initiates her attack. Frank still has his comeback kit, but this is the move. Velocity Vixen, the foxes they are. Could they be pulling one over? Could this be the day that the power balances switches and swaps away from the green Team CVRcade onto that purple and orange Team Velocity Vixen? But Kayla Laguna says not today. She uses Quantum Shift and then Comeback Kid. That is a brilliant piece of strategic excellence there as she quantum shifts through the group to just get through and get to the front. Because Comeback Kid runs out the second you catch somebody, she needed to be sure that she was on the wheel of Carl Axel Sander, and now she is. Does she go over the top or does she stick on the wheel? We watch now as Carl accelerates. Kayla's at 197. She does not have much left at this point, but I can assure you that not many of the other ones do either. Frank now sits on the wheel of Casey. So Casey and Frank playing a game of cat and mouse, both getting ready for their comeback kits. Frank accelerates. I think he's going to use comeback kit right now to make sure that Casey can't use his, but then Casey should probably use his right around now to come back as well. So it's far from over. Casey uses his comeback kit as well. A 1-2 punch by Frank and Casey. They are all teammates, so perhaps they're sharing the same thoughts. Maybe they're communicating, but moves are being put down. It's been non-stop action. I have not had a chance to catch my breath, and neither has Kayla Laguna. She hits Roman Arena Hill. She's got a 1-second gap, but she uses weightlifted. Ryan Goldenberg uses comeback kit. He does not want Frank Garcia to come back either. He's got Carl up there. 900 meters to go. Ryan stands up, applies the pressure. Beth has comeback kit left as well. She could very well come over the top. But the 2 Velocity Vixens, Carl Axel Sander and Ryan, they now reach the same spot on the road. Frank uses Quantum Shift. This is so back and forth. Now Carl Axel Sander uses his comeback kit. Maybe a tiny bit premature from the Swede. I think if he keeps the cucumber a bit cooler, he can attack later on, but now he has to commit to it. Kayla, Carl, Ryan, that is your top 3. And then Beth still has her comeback kit. It's 400 meters to go, and I honestly don't know how this is going to pan out. But Carl blocks Ryan. Oh, the 2 teammates, they get it mixed up. Ryan is now in pursuit of Kayla. 300 meters to go. They're trying to lead out Carl Axel Sander, but it could be too little, too late. Kayla still on the front. 199, 200 equalized heart rate. Team CVRcade is going to take the victory here in the first of 3 races, and that is fantastical. Now, Beth has attacked away from the following group. Ryan will cross the line in second, Carl in third. I think Ryan may have waited to try and get Carl on through. Beth with a great 4th place. Frank versus Jeff and versus Casey. Frank will take 5th. Allison comes out of nowhere and takes 6th. Casey 7th. Now Thomas Tibbling will outsprint Vibeke Bertram to the line. He gave that one everything. Whoo! Channel 1, I hope you're enjoying the fireworks because this is brilliant racing as Tim will be further down. Let's have a look at that finale once more because that was so strategic. I think Velocity Vixen drops the ball in the end, but going up against the fox that's Kayla Laguna, it can be quite difficult. She played that one to perfection. Ryan and Carl, I think at one point they just said, right, Kayla's gone. It's the lowest scoring multiplier of the day. We're going to get our 2nd and 3rd points and just move on to the next one with more left in the tank when you compare it to Kayla and the rest. But good racing nonetheless, and the comeback kit surely made a big difference in that race. But Kayla, congratulations. What was it like to go up against the Velocity Vixens resistance, I almost want to call it?
Oh my gosh, yeah. Kudos to Velocity Vixen because from the get-go they shot up and I was like, oh man, okay. Gonna have to change up our gameplay a little bit, but just wanted to stay with that Velocity team since they got a good jump and kind of knew when Carl was up and had 5 seconds on the Velocity group that I knew what they were trying to do, just have that pack and then just let Carl take it. So I knew that if I could catch up with them, then just quantum shift through them, because I was figuring they were going to try to block. Then I could get ahead of them and then just do the comeback kid and catch up to Carl, and then just hopefully he was a little bit exhausted for trying to pull those efforts by himself and pull through at the end.
That sprint, though, because you go up against Ryan, they have the numbers with Carl. How do you play that sprint?
Yeah, I was a little bit nervous because I didn't know. I mean, you try to pay attention to everything that's going on in the game, but you don't know exactly what power-ups are left because there's just so many players. So I was trying to figure out what power-ups they had left, because I did the wind at my back on the last kill, so I was hoping that they didn't have their power-ups left to be able to catch up with me, but looks like all they had left was quantum shift, so just try to put my head down and just pedal as hard as I could.
Well, it worked out to perfection. Good luck here in Country Rally. We've also got Ryan in the broadcast. And Ryan, Velocity Vixen kept that secret so well. How did you manage to recruit so much top talent in so little time?
Yes, as we're getting ready for the bracket session to start here, we thought it would be nice to have some numbers in a formidable team force. So I'm not actually going to take credit myself, but the team did a really good job recruiting two who I think will be very committed riders in Carl Axel and Vibeke. So yeah, I think that actually went pretty well. Like, to have 4 in the front there at the very end, I'm happy with that. We've got 2, 3, 4 in the standings right now after the first event. I think what's also clear is who the CVR team rider that everybody's working for is today in Kayla. So she played it well, coming through all of us there near the end.
All I'm asking for is somebody to clip Ryan saying that went pretty well, and then have a picture of 5 Velocity Vixen riders on their own. That needs to be framed. Well done, Ryan. 30 seconds to go. Country Rally is coming up next. We'll see if the onslaught can be kept up. But right now, the advantage is to Team CVRcade with Kayla Laguna in the lead. This, as you're seeing on the screen, is Country Rally. It's one of the fan favorite courses. It's a high skill event, meaning there are obstacles on the road. They've got to be careful, because if you hit a log, you crash. If you hit a barn door, you crash. If you hit a hay bale, it's going to prick a tiny bit, but you're going to be off your bicycle. So from the gun, you're going to see accelerations. On the front, you've got Casey Shum. He did finish far up in the end, but they've got a lot making up to do as Razor's Edge gets popped from the gun. Wind at the back, it gets popped at the gun as well. Frank's coming in really hot. Oh, he uses corner caper 1 second too late. And we've seen that before from Frank. So just too conservative as Ryan, Rick, Ben. Oh, they all just follow each other blindly into the abyss as they all take a nap by the side of the roads. Hope they remember a nightcap. As Casey, he barely gets through the hay bales, as they look like they've had a slight makeover as well, but just gets on through and safely to the front. Allison, Beth crashes. Allison is in 4th now as Carl moves on through. But where is Kayla Laguna? Kayla, the leader prior to this, is now down in 8th place. She's got Frank ahead of her, but it's a long race. We don't usually have this many laps. We have twice the amount of laps we usually have on Country Rally, and it's a mentally difficult course. You can never rest, and it's a course that if you have mastered, you will start to gain time lap after lap after lap. So even though if you're Thomas Tippling or Vibeke Bertram in 13th and 14th, if you have nailed this course, like someone like Frank, Casey, Tim, Jeff, Allison, they've really done, what you'll see them do is every lap, a bit like watching Formula One, they claw back a second, they claw back 2 seconds, they claw back 2.5 seconds, and it makes all the difference as Nigel crashes on the front. That allows Tim the opportunity to come right on through here now. So I hear Channel 1 has just left. And for those that stuck around, you are the MVPs of the day. Thank you so much for sharing that love. As Allison, no, she also goes down. It is a very difficult race to master. And what we're seeing is Ryan Goldenberg. His early crash has really hindered him as he's down in 13th with Casey moving on up. So with the early race on Roman Arena making the difference, Country Rally is the statement of all statements as Carl Axel Sander uses corner caper. Who's got track of their power-ups? That is what's going to come down to. Tim moves to the hay bales. Carl moves to the hay bales. And look at the scoreboard. Jeff, the Velocity Vixen rider, he's 5 seconds up the road, but anything can change. He's currently in the lead. Carl Axel Sander, the other Velocity Vixen rider, he's in second. Then you've got Tim Fulford in third. So Kayla in fourth. If it was to end like this, it would mean that 3 riders are in a good position to take home that $50. But remember, bonus points. Carl Axel Sander, I don't believe will get bonus points for streaming. So he's going to suffer on some of that. So he's going to need additional points to finish above in the Omnium here. But 6 laps of Country Rally. It is so difficult to stay on it at all times. You go around and you're not quite sure. Suddenly 2 corners start looking the same. The wind changes as Tim is in pursuit of Jeff. And Tim needs these bonus points because this is not his preferred zone. So despite streaming in, he's got a chance here, but he's got to go and really have to figure out how does he catch Jeff. Coming into the headwind section, Casey Shum down in third is using his wind at back power up, and he's in pursuit of Team Cycling Hub's Tim Fulford. He also uses Razor's Edge here. So he's going to try and overtake Tim, and he does succeed. As you can see, the blue and orange colors on the left being passed as Tim comes into the corner a bit slower. Casey coming in 8 kilometers an hour, uses corner caper in second position here, and he's going to overtake Jeff. Jeff tries to block, and Tim also crashes. Jeff and Tim both sitting down, and Casey happy with that one, seeing that Jeff made a mistake. Jeff, Nigel, Carl, Rick, 4 riders not streaming in here, but nonetheless, they're putting in a great display. We could only imagine Nigel standing up, grinding. He's got the head shake. Jeff somewhere around with a fist pump. Rick Woods, he just digs in and just has no emotion. And Carl Axel Sander, if you're listening to this, reach out. We'd love to have you on the stream one day. The Swedish Viking Armada. But Casey Shum on the front, 5 seconds. He's passing the Butts. And the Butts, they have a massive role to play. As you get through, you're starting to lap these Butts. And the Butts, the Wilburs, the Thomas, the Roberts, we've seen it before with Frank Garcia. They end up blocking the road. And speaking of Frank has crashed again. And in the scoreboard, he's finding himself down in 9th place. That is not familiar territory for the usual Team CVRcade leader, as Jeff Rooney used back-to-back power-ups. And despite doing that, he was way out in the lead. And he's now down in 7th place as Casey has crossed the finish line halfway through the racing now. And Casey is in a good position, racing his preferred zone, streaming in, matching kit. He's got audio. Everything is going Team Experimental's way right now. But remember, Saturn is coming up after this. Tim with wind at his back as well. Coming into that headwind section, passes Nigel Doyle, and he can now see Rick Woods and Carl Axel Sander. But everybody's eyes, as Ben Shuilong also takes a tumble, is on Kayla Laguna in 7th. She won the last race. When she finished it, you could see her visibly tired and panting for air. She is the team leader. She is the chosen one right now in the Team CVRcade camp. And with $50 on the line for everyone beating Team CVRcade in this race, they are all keeping an eye on Kayla Laguna coming into the next race. Ryan has just passed her as she leaves Thomas to meet with the hay bales. Jeff Rooney is about to pass Kayla as well. So 2 Velocity Vixen riders putting Kayla further down now. That moves Kayla down in 4th and Rick up. Rick also, I'm forgetting that, that Rick is also a Team CVRcade member. He's currently in 2nd place and 3rd on the scoreboard. So they have 3rd and 4th occupied on the scoreboard. And then you have Casey and Carl, the only 2 riders that are ahead of the action. And if you want to understand how to race Country Rally, I would recommend you go. Oh, Casey, so close. You go in. I was about to comment him. You go in to physical replays and you just sit there and you sit with your notepad and you take notes on how Casey's racing this, because he is now on the front. He's got 6 seconds, and with 2 laps to go, he's going to continue to fight on through. But Tim Fulford, realizing the danger of what's ahead of him, uses Racer's Edge. Carl uses wind at his back. Rick uses Racer's Edge as well. And the 3 riders here, you can see them all on one line. They're getting close. Beth is coming back as well as Carl is accelerating. He's got to be careful here. If he goes too quick, he may just slide out, and the barn door is coming up. He gets through. Rick gets through. And Casey, on this rhythm course, choosing to use both his corner capers at this point in the racing. So he is all in. Casey's at 196, 195 equalized heart rate. Somebody get this man a defibrillator. His heart is beating like crazy. So he is just listening to music, rocking away, realizing that with every power-up being used, he's got to go for it. Now Tim, with corner caper as well, was accelerating, attacking Rick on the inside. And he is 3 seconds up now. With him, I think he's only used 1 corner caper. He might have 1 left still. So 1 lap to go. Next time they cross the start-finish banner, that is it. 1 lap to go. And with Rick being passed, that now means 3 riders going in to Saturn Circuit Complete are up there. And if you stuck around from Channel 1 and you're watching this and you're cheering from somebody, I want to hear it in the chat. Are you Team Casey? Are you Team Tim? Team Carl? Team Kayla? Beth? Ryan? Nigel? Ooh, there's a bot on the right as Tim and Rick. Rick and Tim. Rick has taken the lead. 1 lap to go. Rick on the left. Rick avoids the locks. Brilliant racing from Rick Woods. But this is it. Ring the cowbells as last lap starts. Casey powerless at this point, both leg-wise and power-ups-wise. In 3rd place, he can see riders starting to catch him as Tim attacks Rick. He puts the pressure on. He's got to be careful he doesn't slide out and do what Frank did. Wind at his back, 50 kilometers an hour. He uses corner caper, and so does Rick. We're on the last lap of racing, and Tim taking the lead at the top of the racing right now. Coming into the hay bales, you gotta avoid the bots. He comes on through. He's got a bot. He chooses to go to the right. Rick versus Tim. Rick in the green. Has he got anything left? We know he's used his corner capers. It's Tim on the front. He's standing up. And now you watch Rick Woods in the green. He's got Tim right up the road. And he is staying on it. He's gaining back 30 meters. 1 second is the difference. Rick stands up again. He can almost just catch out and grab him. It's going to come down to the sprint finish on the line here as Tim and Rick both looking each other on. 1 second to go. 400 meters to go. 3 seconds between. I can't even talk. It's so close. 300 meters to go. 1 second between them. And Tim goes on the front. And Rick Woods comes on through, pulling up for Team CVRcade. And he's now in the lead as he crashes. And Tim is happy about that one. Rick pushing it to the limit. But no, Rick just being penalized for pressuring into a moment where he shouldn't. Tim can be proud of that one. Country rally. Excellent. He's happy. I think that was the finger whack to Casey Shum. And now Casey is sprinting. He's got to keep Carl behind him. He's got Carl on his left. He's coming on through, but Casey Shum will take 3rd. Important points coming into the next race. Then Nigel. Then there's a massive gap down to Ryan. But Rick losing that race meant that there are now 2 riders ahead of him in the standings. Kayla is in a nice position with 4th place, racing a zone where she's streaming in, also getting points. And you watch, they're racing for those secondary positions. They're sprinting onto the line as Kayla will pass Kinjal and Beth. But Jeff, Ryan, as Kinjal crashes down, Thomas Tibbling as well will cross over here in Country Rally. Excellent racing. Let's watch Rick Woods versus Tim one more time, because that right there, ladies and gentlemen, is a classic in CVRcade racing. You're coming into the line, the pressure being applied, and it just was too much for Rick, accelerating into a corner, and he knows it. He knows it. Oh, that was pushing or squeezing the lemon a bit too hard. And that lemonade turned sour real quick as Tim happy with that one. And that propels him into 1st place. So despite a lackluster Roman Arena performance, he now moves up in Country Rally and on to the top of the scoreboard. Congratulations, Tim. First of all, what was 6 laps of country rally like racing?
Horrible. You just kept on going. Wind was in a different direction to normal, not prevailing. So I had to think about that. And I think a lot of people got that wrong on the first lap. I made a stupid mistake for my crash. I turned inside on a corner, like amateur hour that. And then, I looked at the speed as we were coming into that final with Rick. I'm like, I think that corner is 44. So I took it down to 43. And unlucky for Rick, he didn't. But great racing.
Saturn is last up, Tim. You're currently the provisional leader. You're not racing your preferred zone, so you're going to need more points. How are you going to attack this last race in Zone K?
Yeah, I missed the start on Roman, so I dropped my headphone, which meant I had to pick it up, and I'll just get around on that. But yeah, crazy. I thought I could maybe get back to 5th or 6th and then push for the win, but I've got to defend it now, I suppose.
Oh, we'll see. Good luck, Tim, in this one. We don't have Carl or Rick in the broadcast, unfortunately, but we do have Kayla once more. And Kayla, that was a bit of a different affair to Roman Arena. What happened there in Country Rally from your point of view?
Just personally, I mean, I just couldn't get my heart rate down, and I don't know what's going on with me, but that was just really tough. I don't know if I used all my energy in the first. It just doesn't sound right, so I'm just not sure what's going on, but I'm going to give it everything I got in this last one. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, not sure what happens. I didn't even crash or anything at all, so we'll see.
Well, all the racing adds up. We'll let Kayla rest up and get the final word here from Casey Shum. Casey, your preferred zone, you're broadcasting in, 55 seconds to go. How confident do you feel ahead of your chances of taking down that top 4 ahead of you?
I don't know. These guys are going hard today. That first race was probably one of the hardest ones I've done yet, and they dropped me. So we'll see what I got. Either the body doesn't have it or everybody else is really strong today, because I had some big numbers the first 2 races. Seeing some differences, and it's kind of fun. It looks like either the bots or some new riders were moving around in front of me that last race that kind of caught me out. But we'll give it all we got here.
That's all you can ask for. Good luck, Casey. I think what Casey's referring to in terms of the additional power, when you take your wallet out and you dangle $50 ahead of somebody, doesn't matter what walks of life they're from, that extra bit of incentive, it can make you push a lot harder. Now, Saturn circuit complete. We're going into space, and we're going to see performances out of this world in order to take on Team CVRcade on the front. To reiterate, if you can beat the best placed Team CVRcade member in the Omnium, you will take home $50 here in Zone K. Currently, Rick Woods is best place, but Kayla not too far down, and even Frank Garcia could make amends and move on up. Anything can happen as we're in the last race in Zone K. This is not the last racing of this stream, though, and if you tune in from Channel 1 and you've clicked that follow button down left, well, don't worry, we've got another zone with new racers coming up just after this. But from the gun is Nigel Doyle, who's attacked away. And he attacked away using something called the inertia power-up, as Tim now takes 2nd place in the road. In this race, you get certain power-ups. You get 2 weight lifteds, 2 path of least resistance, and 2 inertias. Now, what Nigel did is right from the gun, he attacked away using path of least resistance. It reduces the friction between the wheel and the ground. If you use it in a turn, you're going to slide out. It's like being on aquaplane. But if you use it on a straightaway, it's going to reduce the rolling resistance, meaning you're going to go quicker for less energy spent. So it's a highly strategical power up to use. And when he got to his max speed, then he used inertia. But he's now being caught by Tim Fulford. And once more, we have wind in this race. You've got to be moving around and being clever in the positions you stay with. But what we're seeing is this is a 6-lap race. It's going to be tough on the legs. And further down, you got these butts. And you see Frank, he's sitting down behind them now. He's in the pursuit of Tim and Nigel. And they're coming into this tight corner now. And it's going to be interesting to see as Thomas Tippling. Oh, Nigel crashes. Rick Woods almost crashes. But Nigel just, I think he fell over into Tim. Tim applied the pressure. And Nigel just touched wheels and fell down. The same thing could happen here in the spiral. It does for his fellow Kiwi. Both of them just forgetting to maybe turn the clock back an hour, and they just snooze for a second and lose that wheel. Frank weightlifted, path of least resistance, and inertia. I'm not sure if that was intentional, but it looked like a roll of the fingers across the power up. So he's got inertia here, and now he goes once more. Tim, looking at the scoreboard, has got a solid gap, but Rick Woods is close behind him. Carl Axel Sander, Casey Shum, they all want more out of this. We're coming through the chicane, and who's going to try and pull the Frank? Who will play conservatively? Tim gets safely on through. Frank gets safely on through. And further back, everybody else safe as well. As Casey is down in 5th. He's fighting for it. Thomas Tibbling with a great performance as well. He's down in 10th. He comes on through, but the group is up ahead as they're fighting to get back on. Weight lifted, path of least resistance. Frank and Rick, they're really trying to put the hurt on here, but Tim is having none of it. He's moving through, and they're all just fighting. I can tell you this. They must all have had something for breakfast today, and I want the exact same thing because we're seeing some incredible performances, whether it's the additional incentive of the prize money, whether it's the fact that it's technically only 3 races in an Omnium. All in all, these racers, they're showing up today. They're coming out to play. The week 4 in the open sessions is Casey being forced to use his inertia power-up to get back here. This is a man who's usually dictating the pace in the front, but he's being caught up in the crossfire, and he is down with Ben Shuilong. Ben using his inertia as well to catch his breath. He's down with Ryan, with Nigel, etc. So despite having the numbers from Velocity Vixen and being dominant, as Frank on the front also uses his second inertia, I think Frank at this point is playing domestique. He realizes that Rick Woods is the best chance they've got at taking down the top. And Rick and Tim at this point, they're only differentiated by 0.3 of a point. As Frank now gets to the front, he tries to block Tim, but there are no uncrashables, no corner capers, no quantum shifts in this. You have to be careful of your every move. And Frank has emptied the tank. He says, Rick, it's up to you. I've got nothing left. Bye, Major Tom. It's time to leave ground control as Rick Woods on the front. Tim, Carl, 2nd and 3rd. This is great racing. I'm sitting here with a massive smile on my face, and I hope you are too. Well, the viewers, not the racers. I think they're busy struggling and suffering and having fun in different races. Now, Frank just wading up through, coming into the spiral on the front. Rick, Tim, Carl. You see Casey in hot pursuit further down. He's coming in and starting the climb as well. Rick uses his second inertia. We're not even halfway through Saturn. And the most powerful power-ups have been used like this. They're like, you want an inertia? You want an inertia? And Rick Woods applying the pressure. Carl Axel Sander, I think with his equalized heart rate, with his heart rate malfunctioning, I think, unfortunately as that is, the ruling is preliminary, of course, but when your heart rate stops functioning, I think the rules say you might get, it's Carl and Tim both crash. Oh, Tim pushed it to the limit, and it could not even matter, as this leaves Rick with a chance. Casey and Ben, they both open the door, and they're all so incredibly tired. We watch here. We come into the S-bend. We're on Tim. We're on Rick. We're on Carl Axel Sander. Tim being forced to use a different lane, and he may just get a bit more draft, and he's not happy. That 1 second, and then back to work. But this leaves Rick Woods on the front. He's 2.8 points behind Tim. It's going to be so close at the top. This is Rick's preferred zone. So despite not streaming in, he will get 4 bonus points per race he finishes in this. So The bonus points are less than usual because you only get ×3 compared to the ×4 that you normally get, but they still make a difference. You can see we stop the camera, we look further back. Where is the rest? Rick has an 8-second gap. There comes the next, and there is the chasing on peloton. Kayla is down in 13th. You heard her say she's struggling a tiny bit. It could be fatigue. She doesn't know what's happening. Her legs aren't there. It happens when you race a lot. Suddenly, your body goes, you know what? Time for a rest. And perhaps that is what's happening. We watch Tim. He is attempting to catch Rick. All Tim needs to do is keep this chasing group at bay. But Velocity Vixen increases their numbers as Ryan Goldenberg gets back in this. And I think the vision for Ryan is simple at this point. Is him and Carl either work together or they designate a rider to do their best. Ryan is racing his preferred zone, so he's going to get a lot of points, but he is finding himself 24 points down on Tim Fulford and 22 down on Rick. He needs to beat Tim here, but even in doing that, so that will only gain him about 8 points on the scoreboard. So it's a lot, but there's more up for grabs if you can catch Rick. Now, we realize that inertia is a massive power-up, and not everybody like Rick has used both of theirs. So there's opportunities for punches and counter punches to be thrown, but coming into the headwind, coming into the crosswind, coming into these pressure points of the spirals, you've got to be on it. And as every lap ticks down, you get more tired, you get more fatigued, you get more and more restless, thinking I'm not going to make it, as Tim uses weight lifted, and so does Carl, so does Ben. Casey is going out the back. Nigel's going out the back. Tim uses inertia at 43 kilometers an hour. That is 7 kilometers an hour higher than what we previously saw Rick and Frank Garcia use theirs on. So a bit of a clever gamesmanship by Tim, using that inertia at the right moment. 3 laps to go when they cross that finish banner. Rick gets on through. Will Tim crash a second time? No. He can breathe a sigh of relief as he comes on through. Ryan deaccelerates significantly here, and he's now being forced to get all that momentum back and move up once more. It's shaping up. They're all racing for that $50. As Carl Axel Sander uses inertia at 34 kilometers an hour, he must also be getting tired. For Ryan at 50 k's an hour, as we watch the racing unfold, you can see this is amazing. I love CVRcade, man. I love this racing. It's so fun to watch. It's back and forth, and as the riders, they pay with blood, sweat, and tears. We, the viewers, us, the consumers of content, we get to sit back and we get to pay back in laughs and homage and in respect, as these racers are really putting on a show akin to the gladiators themselves. 3-man group now without the front: Rick, Tim, and Ryan. And with the math, anything can kind of change. I wouldn't even rule out all these 3 not finishing top 3. They could very well crash, and the riders further back make their way back to the front. So $50 on the line if you can beat Team CVRcade. Right now, Rick Woods is their best hope, and it's Tim and Ryan that's knocking on the door. Ben Shuilong is making his way back up. In the overall, he's 8th, but he's got the Omnium. He's got the stage on his mind, not the Omnium. He's thinking, you know what? I want to win Saturn. This is one of the greater races. This is one of the tougher races. I want my name on this one. I want the plaque to say Ben Shuilong, King of Space. And he wants that on his desk to look at. And he's reaching out to try and grab that as he's 7 seconds down on the leading group on the front. Rick still doing a lot of the pacing. I wonder if there ever gets any cat and mousing on this, because we've got 2.5 laps left. Ryan is on the right. He's trying to force a mistake out of Tim, and Tim is having none of it. So he breaks down significantly, and all 3 of them leaving each other a gap. This is going to turn out to a very strategic finish. All 3 of them are going to play cat and mouse as Ryan moves up. Oh, a closer touch of wheels between Ryan and Rick there as we hit the incline. Tim stands up. He accelerates. You can see him sprint 1,100 equalized watts. He wants to get out ahead of this. He wants to try and break the spirit. You so often hear Tim talk about pressure. Pressure is the currency of CVRcade. It's not watts. It's not power-ups. It's pressure. The more pressure you can apply on an opponent, the more likely they are to make mistakes. And that's what we're seeing now. Coming into this, Ryan, is he going to slow down again? Yeah, oh, he makes a mistake. There it is. Trade it in, sell, buy, whatever you want to do. But the currency comes on through as a Ryan Goldenberg. I think he just changes lanes in the corner. I think he thinks he's safe to do so at the speed he is. And we look now as he comes in, he's slowing down, and he changes corner way too late. And I think it could have been a fat finger, it could have not have been, but regardless, the outcome is the same. Being forced to use the inertia, being forced to use weight lifted. The Badger Ryan Goldenberg not happy about that one, as he's going to have to make up a 4-second gap with a lap and 3/4 left now. And everyone behind them, they're fighting for secondary positions. Casey's 5th place is up for grab. Kayla's 6th. Nigel's, Jeff, Ben, Thomas Vibeke, everyone has got a chance. You can see Casey, he's still fighting away. He's not racing Sonel after this. He's got 2 laps to go when he crosses that line. He knows he just wants this to end and fight on through. As at the front, Rig Woods, Tim Fulford. You can see further back, Thomas Tibbling in 9th place as well. He's fighting with Casey. He's fighting with Vibeke, with Homer. They're all riding on through. Tim and Rick, though, they're sharing turns at the front. I think Rick needs support from Ryan, and Ryan does come back now. Ryan, despite his crash, is back on the group here. And for Rick to take the win, he needs to win the stage, and Tim needs to come 3rd. Now, that is before any bonus points are added on, so that's just preliminary. But, of course, we wait and we do the math afterwards. But it's going to be intense watching the racing finish now, because the next time they come on through to the start-finish banner, that's the last lap of racing. The last time in this zone that they have to do the spiral. The last time in this zone they have to do the tight left-hand corner, and some of the racers will be grateful that's the case. Others will want to do more, and so that they will do in Zone L. There's a bot up ahead. There are bots up ahead here, as they have to be careful about other lapped riders. Rick's on the front, Tim's 3rd as they pass. It's not even Butts, sorry. It's Frank Garcia on the left coming into the spiral. There's Rick. He's coming on through. You've got to wonder, is there a deja vu of Country Rally? Tim versus Rick. Tim putting the pressure on and Rick making a mistake. Ryan in 2nd place. Tim down in 3rd. 2.4Ks to go. And it's Team CVRcade, Team Velocity Vixen, and Team Cycling Hub. They're going to be duking this out. Tim accelerating on through. He wants the right of way. He wants to be able to choose his lane. But I think he's trying to force a mistake out of Rick. He's sitting 2 lanes over. He moves in, but no, he doesn't catch him. You got to be careful when you do that, because sometimes you can end up making a mistake yourself. Tim comes on through. He comes out safe. Ryan, Rick. Ryan's like really braking hard in that one. Every time having to sprint. And there we go. Zone K. Last lap of racing. I hope by now you've drank the rest of your Coke, your water, your beverage of choice. You've got your popcorn, your crisps, or your chips, or your chocolate, and you're ready for a refill. Because as we finish this race, we'll do Roman Arena once more. We'll do Country Rally once more as Ryan accelerates. Does he have a quantum shift? Does he have inertia left? Does Tim have an inertia left? Ryan accelerates. Rick's there. Tim's there. And now they start trading blows. They can see that counter come down. Ryan is in trouble here. If Tim stays on his outside, Ryan will hit. Oh, Ryan slows down. He recognizes this and comes down to 36 k's an hour. And that means he has to accelerate again. 700 equalized watts. Small decisions like that start adding up. Rick's at 179, Tim's at 182, and Ryan at 180. Who will it be? The scoreboard can change in an instant, as Rick and Tim will only change places if Ryan gets in between them. As Rick's on the front, Tim's on the right, everyone searching for the draft in the wind. Whew. Can you feel the intensity? Can you feel the pressure? Can you feel the nervousness that's in the air between the 3 riders? They all know what they've got to do for individual glory, for overall glory, and for the broadcast purposes. They've had your support throughout the race, and now we watch the 3 amigos They're about to come to the finish line. One left-hand turn here, then another tight, then the spiral, then the chicane, then the finish. Who's got a path of least resistance left? Who's got a weight lifted back? Who's got inertia left? As Ryan off the back, Tim side by side. Tim is trying to force a mistake. He's trying to make Rick slide out into him, and you see him accelerate. He does not want to go up against Rick, and it almost happens, but they slide out simultaneously. Tim accelerates. The spiral is coming up. He's going to try it once more. The advantage is Team Cycling Hub for Tim Fulford, but Rick, Ryan, they're both there. They hit the spiral. 500 meters to go. Tim has a weight lifted back. Can anyone counter this? 1100 from Tim. 900. Inertia from Tim at 47. But Tim could very well crash. If he comes in too hot in this corner, he could slide out. We see. Does it run out in time? Yes, it does. 2-second gap. Ryan, Rick, they're fighting for secondary positions at this point. They require a mistake out of Tim or a phenomenal sprint finish. Tim comes on through. He comes safely through the corner. And Rick crashes. Tim's on through. Path of least resistance. Tim versus Ryan. They sprint and they give it everything as Tim Fulford takes the win. You can see that one took a lot out of him. Ryan, second place. Happy with that one. A crash or two. Rick Woods, once more, when you get into that pressured situation, just sometimes that cookie seems to crumble a tiny bit. And crashing in Country Rally, crashing in Saturn, there will be some words in the CVRcade team bus. Ben Shuilong will be next. Carl Axel Sander. Tip my hat to everyone who raced these 3 races in Zone K. I think with the addition of the bonus points, etc., I think it'll be close. I think Ryan might take Rick. I think Casey might take it, but we'll look. I will not make any statements on it because we're waiting for the official results thanks to Cycle Data. We'll watch the rest come over the line as they fought so valiantly. Casey and Thomas here, 6th and 7th. They've come so far. CCC, Team Experimental, they both want to watch that finish line as Jeff Rooney finishes. Casey versus Thomas. Thomas maybe not knowing the course too well, slowing down in that corner. They'll both be sprinting for this one. Thomas comes on through. He gets safely there. Casey versus Thomas. Sprint for the line. You can see Thomas winding it up, but it's going to be too little too late as the patented Casey Shum sprinting style. That will net him further up. Vibeke, great racing with the rest. Let's watch the 3 amigos into the sprint once more on Saturn as they finish off what is excellent racing here in Zone K. Now, we got more racing coming up in Zone L, so make sure to stick around if you're a viewer or if you're a racer. Fill up your bottle, maybe get some electrolytes in there, get a gel, get a bar, get something if you have to go again in Zone L, because these 3 races are turning out to be quite demanding on the body as Tim just applying that pressure, winning Zone K here in the CVRcade World Cup. Week 4 open sessions with Ryan Goldenberg hot on his heels. Congratulations, Tim. How much does that victory mean to you in the end?
Yeah, I'm quite happy with that. Great racing from Rick and Ryan. Rick just I mean, like Mr. 367 man is just on it the whole time, and Ryan was up and down like a yo-yo. So I realised soon enough that if I got second, I think if Rick won, I'd still win the points without applying the bonus points. So I was kind of happy with that. But yeah, 3 tough races.
It was so close in the end because a crash would come from Rick, a crash would come from you. How do you play it when you have 3 riders like that, all from different teams? How do you play it from your perspective?
The trickiest thing from my perspective is what are they still holding? Like, what trump cards have they got? What power-ups have they got? So do I use it now or do I wait? And what I did there is I tried to cover every move possible without using the last set, so that I had the last set to go into the final, so it would give me the best chance. But yeah, just some of those corners in Saturn, if you go into them with other people, I mean, I crashed on the final corner on lap 2 or something. And that's purely because I was more worried about where Rick was than where I was. So it's completely different dynamics having to ride in a group like that when none of you are friends, sort of thing.
Well, it turned out well in the end. We're waiting official results, but I do think, Tim, you're one of the ones to take $50. So congratulations winning that. Ryan, we've also got you here. Heartbreak in the end. Saturn, it was so close, but Tim beat you. Talk me through how that race unfolded from your perspective.
Did I just hear Tim say I'm not one of his friends? I'm a little bit hurt. Yeah, it was really good racing. I was actually pretty pleased with where I finished, especially having crashed. I think it was lap 5 or beginning of lap 6. It was the S turn on lap 5. That's right. What happened was my brake button got stuck, and so I couldn't brake, and I slid out. I'm using these fancy controllers. I don't know if you can see it, but I would say net, I don't know if it hurt me. Like, it helped me throughout all the rest of the racing, but just that one spot, just bad timing. But I caught back on, so it was really just the finish that decided it. And I don't think I could have won the day anyways. So, yeah, I'm pleased. I actually crashed 4 times on Country Rally, all 100% my fault, which is unlike me because I usually kind of play it safe. But maybe I was just going hard in the first race. I don't know. But yeah, that was a lot of fun. Well done, Tim. Well done, Rick, and everybody else.
I am glad to hear that. I also had a lot of fun broadcasting it. Thank you for your blood, sweat, and tears. But as we get ready for Zone L, which is the same 3 races, but with different racers, we're watching the highlights. It'd be good to get a word from Frank Garcia, because he was the one who laid down the gauntlet. He was the one that issued the challenge to try and beat Team CVRcade. Frank, did that last zone play out the way you wanted it to from your perspective? Oh, I think we may or may not have Frank on the line. That's okay. We'll come back to him as he's getting water in his bidons. I think we're getting ready for some more racing all around. So I see if Frank is back now. So we'll see if we can catch a word from him again as he refilled his bidon. Frank, you were the one to issue the challenge to try and beat Team CVRcade in Zone K. Did that last hour of racing pan out the way you wanted it to?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I thought we saw some great teamwork by Velocity Vixen, and they made that first race hurt a lot. So that was great. Great to see more teamwork in action. Kayla was able to pull that one off, but we burnt a lot of energy. And then Rick came to the fore, which was awesome.
With the tired legs from the first one, because it really looked like people dug deep, what can we expect to see here in Zone L as some of the same riders return to do the same 3 races again?
I think I'm going to nap, follow some bots, and hopefully someone will throw me a chain and just pull me along.
That is brilliant. Thank you, Frank. I believe we've also got Peter Kastrup, who will be trading in for our Casey Shum as he gets rested and ready to go for Zone K again tonight. If we do have Peter in here, Team CCC, you guys are getting some competition with Velocity Vixen also recruiting. You recently added Thomas Tippling. How are you feeling ahead of tonight's racing as a team, Peter?
Very confident we can do well today. We didn't quite get what happened in Zone K, but I think we weren't in front, but we hope to change it in Zone L.
Is that classical music I can hear in the background?
Yeah, it is. It's an experiment. I think I need some quiet and tranquility during the races. Not get fired up and don't crash in the corners. Maybe it helps.
I absolutely love that. If we ever get Flight of the Bumblebee or like Symphony No. 7 or whatever they're called, I can't wait to see. That's going to be a trend that starts kicking on in the interviews. Well, Peter, I'll let you get back to your tranquility and get in the Send Zone. Flying Dutchman, Team CCC, is in this racing. Now, Channel 1, the riders or the viewers that were here from the very beginning, you are the real MVPs of the day. Like, words cannot describe what it means to have you stick around. And if you want to get involved and you're watching and you're thinking, I have a bike, I have a computer, I want to race for $50 in Zone K or 25 grand in the overall for this CVRcade World Cup, well, all you got to do is there is a link in the chat like right now. It says CVRcade.com. When you go to the website, there is a link. It's free to play. You download. Now, granted, you may not have all the equipment, but within the game itself, there's a hardware store, and you can buy the equipment you're missing. Now, it's pretty quick turnaround. You can get on, you can get racing. And so if this is intriguing you and you are like by day a gamer and by night an exercise person, this is the perfect combination for you. It's physical esports, and it's only going to get bigger and better. The CVR World Cup, in particular, has taken to different places in the world. We've seen live events, LAN parties in Los Angeles, in Las Vegas, in Vancouver, in Paris, in London, Roanoke, places all around the world. And I'm sure that that will soon be making a return eventually as we get ready. Zone L, 3 more laps here of Roman Arena. Who's got anything left? The winner of the last zone, Kayla Laguna. She is back for more. Velocity Vixen, though, they've lost their squad. They've lost the majority of the numbers in Vibeke, in Beth, but they do retain a number of their riders. I also see Rene Valadez is in there as Beethoven himself, Peter Kastrup, gets ready for the racing. He's got that Bumblebee outfit, and we'll see if he's going to sting like 1-2 here in Zone L in the CVRcade World Cup. Tim Fulford, the winner of the last zone, is at the back of this group. Him and Frank sitting there. There's been a gameplay change today. So in the past, when it comes to these low skill events, thanks to uncrashable ability, you were able to work as an enforcer. You were able to block other riders and take them out. Now that gameplay dynamic is no longer as prevalent. It's still possible if you attack a group from the front. If you have the right of way on the front, then you can slow down a rider, but no longer can you ride up to the side, take your hockey stick, and close them. That is no longer a thing. If you do that, it functions like a bump, and you both slow down equally. But 10 riders have made the front group. Rene Valadez, Peter Kastrup, Homer Thompson, Nils Heldens, Homer Thompson, Jeff Rooney, Timothy Tamont, Ryan Goldenberg, Tim Fulford, Frank Garcia, and now Kayla. She's really struggling today with the racing, but it's not too surprisingly if you race these as religiously as some of these riders do. I mean, Allison, Tim, Kayla, Frank comes to mind as they just race every zone possible. Eventually, you're going to need a bit of a rest, and that's where like Beth York's Rise and Rip group rides come in. If you want a more leisurely experience and perhaps not get thrown into this racing environment, then on Mondays and Friday mornings, I can highly recommend Velocity Vixens and Beth York's Rise and Rip introductory group rides. I see Homer Thompson do them, Paula do them as well, Thomas Tibbling, Kayla Laguna, and Vanessa Murahan. So great to get involved in those. Now, I can't remember. I should probably also get involved. It's been a long time. I commentate the majority of these CVRcade races, which means I don't get much of a chance to race them myself, as we got to be in the action. Timothy Tamont, though, wanted to stream in today. Unfortunately, not enough space as he moves on the front. Ryan sits on his wheel, and we watch the two riders duke it out. Second time around, you've got 2 weightlifters, you've got 2 quantum shifts, and 1 comeback kit. How do you use it? How do you utilize it? As you've got one long line, and I think it'll come down to breakaways. It'll come down to who really uses their power at the right moment. As Timothy initiating an attack on Roman Arena Hill, we're doing it 3 times. As one of the fresher riders, he's doing it. Frank Garcia wanting to take a nap, but I'm fairly certain that what I'm currently seeing is the opposite of taking a nap, as he is applying the power and pressure at the back. Team CVRcade, Frank, Renee, and Kayla. Now, I would like to reiterate as well that the Beat Team CVRcade challenge was only active, as far as I believe, from Zone K. You're now in Zone L. So despite riders wanting to try and beat Team CVRcade, I don't believe there are any financial benefits other than the overall scoreboard for Team on cycle data, but also bragging rights as Timothy Tamont has attacked the way 3, 5, 6 seconds up the road, and Tim is applying the pressure behind him. There's only one rider with the king of the bottom left-hand corner, the mustache man, the nice guy, Timothy Tamont, is being joined by the Flying Dutchman, Peter Castro. You can see he's attacked away. So far, no crashes from Peter. I'm not sure if that's the classical music or the uncrashable power-up that's helping a hand here as the two Flandern connection find themselves on the front. Tim Fulford acting as enforcer, trying to block the riders further back, but Ryan Goldenberg has got more left in the tank. We watched the start-finish line. They've come on through, and Ryan is off in pursuit of the two in the front. The sirens, the horns, the lights have gone on police officer Ryan Goldenberg. He's trying to catch the usual suspects as they're attacking away. He is going to make sure that everything is in order, but he's got everyone right behind them. But Kayla has let go of the group. Frank Garcia is just there, and you can tell that the adhesive is just getting too warm at this point, starting to lose as Rene Valadez, Frank Garcia, letting down. Frank uses quantum shift weightlifted. I think we could see a comeback kit. He needs to go through Tim and Ryan as well, and he is sprinting and sprinting and sprinting, loading up, and I think there is going to be the comeback kit from Frank. Yes, it is. He comes on through. And from one moment off the back to the next moment almost on the front, Frank Garcia is now going to make it across. But is it too early? Uses quantum shift again. He's just going to be the rapid to chase, I think. So now with quantum shift, he's going to settle in at around 300, 367, if he's even got that left as we enter halfway point in the first race of 3 on Roman Arena. I can't wait to see Country Rally. I think they're going to be some tired legs as Tim Fulford, the next one. Frank's used his. And now Team Cycling Hub is going to get a bit of reinforcement as Nils Helden remains to stay in the group further back. Tim uses his comeback kit, and he is bridging across. The first race has the lowest score multiplier, but it seemed to take out the most of the legs sapping wise when it came to the racing we've already seen. So Frank's on the front. Tim might pop quantum shift, chooses not to, goes on the right, goes right on through, and he got 2 seconds up to Frank. We've got 2 more times of Roman Arena Hill left, and that will be all she wrote for Roman Arena the second time around. Can definitely tell there are some tired legs here in amongst the racing. Homer Thompson, though, he's still there. Jeff and Ryan in 5th and 6th. Neither of them have used their comeback kit power-ups yet. They're saving that for the very last moment. But that moment, when you choose to play poker, eventually that moment to turn your bluff into action runs out. So we look at Jeff, we look at Ryan. They're working together, and they are fighting their way up. They've got Nils Heldens further back. Good to see him racing. Ryan will be looking. Oh, here goes Ryan to the left. Is this quantum? No. He chooses to go on the wheel of Nils to try and get ultimate drafting. So the reason he does that is to get more drafting percentage. But Nils and Ryan, we look back to the battle they had on Summit Islands. Nils Heldens cost Ryan Goldenberg that win in the end as he crossed him just with 50 meters to go. And now Tim Fulford attacks the leading group. Timothy Tamont there. Frank Garcia spat out the back. And Peter Kastrup, the Flying Dutchman, the bumblebee of today, he now gets off in pursuit. He's got a good advantage with fresh legs as now Timothy trying to block him. And I think he succeeds in doing so. But this now functions like a bump. It's no longer a downright block. So that gameplay dynamic, yes, Timothy's trying to make sure that Peter doesn't go anywhere, but it doesn't succeed as much as it used to because you will slow down as well, which decreases the efficiency of that specific gameplay maneuver as Timothy stays on the wheel of Peter, but Peter's having none of it as he is trying to catch up with Tim. And this is one of the true and tested rivalries of CVRcade. Team Cycling Hub versus CCC, Tim Fulford versus Peter Castro. Those two have raced day in, day out, night and day, 24/7. These two, they can be found on the battlefields of CVRcade. gathering points as Tim slams on the brake. Oh, I think Timothy was supposed to go to the right. He didn't. I can't tell if that was Tim getting sweat off his face or a face palm, because I think Timothy was supposed to move over. He didn't, and this now slows down everything as Ryan has left Jeff, and he's now attacking to get back up. He's got Niels Heldens 1 second up, so Jeff has done his job for the day. And you wait, and you wait, and you wait. I think it is the right choice. The longer you wait with Comeback Kid, the more efficient it's going to be. But Timothy Tamont attacks over the top, and we watch Tim and Peter. These two, they're both equally as stubborn. Neither of them are going to move until they have to. Timothy is going. Tim is sitting at a comfortable pace, but not too much. Peter is sitting in as well. Peter is a very calculated man. He will not spend energy he doesn't have to. So potentially he could be racing for second place here, saying, right, Timothy Tamont, I don't believe he can do 3 of these long races. He's going to struggle. He's going to suffer. And thereby, I'm going to stay with Tim. I reckon Tim is the bigger threat as you look at the scoreboard. 3 races in total. And they look around. Tim grinding away. Just relax. Just calm. Active recovery as the gap to Timothy moves on out. We look from above with a helicopter. There are none in front, but there's somebody at the back. Ryan Goldenberg on the left. He has got a legit chance here. If Ryan Goldenberg down in 4th comes through the group and uses Comeback Kid, he's got a chance to bridge up to Timothy. And suddenly, this is wide open. This race is far from over. 2.2 kilometers to go. We're on the last ascent of Roman Arena Hill. This is the last lap of racing, and we get ready. Tim moves over. Peter moves over. All 3, as Niels Heldens also gets back to the group. You can see Ryan, Tim, side by side as we wait and we wait. Where is the group? Where are they out on course? As there they come. There is Tim. There's Peter. It's Ryan and Niels Heldens. 1.9 Ks to go, and Timothy Tamont is in the driving position, but he doesn't necessarily like to be in this position. It's quite tough as Ryan takes control on the front. This is now a cat and mouse game of Comeback Kid, not Billy the Kid. Comeback Kid. Who's going to be the quickest on the trigger? Who can wait the longest in this Mexican standoff? You see the tumbleweeds. You can hear the music in the background. They get ready. And no, it's not Beethoven, it's not Bach, it's CVRcade, the dulcet tunes of grinding gears and turbo trainer spinning and buttons being pressed and screams being had when your brakes get stuck. Ryan, though, there it is. Comeback Kid from Ryan. Tim opting to try and stick with it, not going, as Ryan is committing all into this. Onto Roman Arena Hill. This could be timed to perfection. If Comeback Kid works, if Timothy is clever, I think Timothy pulls on the brakes here. I think he's going to need to try and block Ryan for his teammate. He's on the right. He opts not to. He tries and he succeeds. Oh, Timothy Tamont with a gamesmanship. He blocks Ryan down, and all that momentum, he was building it up. That snowball was only getting bigger, and now watch Niels Heldens in 3rd. There he goes, weightlifter being popped as they reach the top of Roman Arena Hill. Peter is yet to use his Comeback Kid. He's also got a chance. You can see the washing machine cadence. It comes down again now. Timothy, Niels in pursuit of Ryan. Timothy uses Comeback Kid here. Again, I think it might just be too early. I'm jumping around on my seat because all these decisions. Timothy uses Quantum Shift. He's going to come on through Ryan. Ryan has used his. Homer further back has got his as well. He's got a chance of coming back. Niels moves over. Peter moves over. They've both got Comeback Kids, both of them. Peter doesn't have the best track record with Comeback Kid. He struggled versus Frank. He's got one hand on it. You can see him waiting and waiting to use it. But he needs to use Quantum Shift to go through Niels and attack. Timothy knows this. It could be too little, too late. Peter sprinting, winding it up. Ryan uses everything he's got. Will Peter pop it? He uses it. Oh, I think he uses it the moment Ryan catches him. Oh, Ryan, Peter, they're both sprinting. Ryan has got 2 seconds up to Timothy. This is going to be close. Timothy thought he had it in the bag. Here comes the finish line. 10, 5, 3. Oh, Timothy Tamont takes the victory in front of Ryan. Peter further up. Tim will be next. I think Homer has potentially to come around him, but he doesn't. Homer, Rene. Whoo, some of the best racing we've seen recently. This is really exciting. So Peter must have used his comeback kit, or he used it the second Ryan caught him. If that was the case, that was so instantaneous, I could not notice it. I could not see it. But if that was the case, the track record continues with comeback kit. Nonetheless, great racing. Ryan, you can see him putting everything in. Timothy, maybe just resting on his laurels a tiny bit, counting his chickens. Luckily, they did end up hatching for him as he beats Ryan by like less than a meter. Well done to everybody. Fortunately, Timothy is not streaming in. We'll hear from Ryan. Ryan, I think that's like less than a meter between winning and losing. Where did you lose that 1 meter in that race?
Yeah, it was a quarter of a second. And I'll tell you, it was, not that last turn really matters with like half a kilometer to go, but I saw Timothy use his comeback kit behind me. I think I'm not sure what I was doing. I think I was trying to minimize the time that he had those extra watts. So I slowed down, but that was a bad move because the speed differential was just too much to make up. Almost wasn't, but yeah, I should have just kept going at my speed. I mean, I don't know. Like, I probably gained something by staying with the other 2 guys at the end too. So, but yeah, I think it was with about half a kilometer to go when I was in the front. I gave some of that time up.
How much does it matter? Because we saw Velocity Vixen be a dominant force in the first time on Roman Arena. How much does it matter to have those numbers? Because you're missing Carl, you're missing Beth, you're missing Vibeke this time around. And you, I say in quotation marks, only have Jeff, but Jeff is a beast. How much does it matter to be missing those riders?
Yeah, I think as much as it helps with the physical side, just having that extra draft and taking turns and going at a pace you can hold. It's the mental, it's like psychological side where you have those people on your side. Because when I've got Niels in front of me, Peter, Tim, Timothy, like Tim said in the last Omnium, none of them are my friends. So I don't know if they're going to break or slow down. I kind of had to watch Tim in front of me if he was going below 200 equalized watts. Maybe I didn't want to be on his wheel. So yeah, it's a lot of mind games when there's a lot of guys in different kit on the course.
We've also got Peter in third place if he's not too busy changing the vinyl records in his background. Peter, good first race for you in Zone L. Are you on the right track where you want to be right now?
Yeah, I think so. There were a lot of guys from the seas cycling up in front. So I thought, well, I'll take it easy a bit. No use to force things. See what happens. And then Brian came, so that was good. When he caught up with Timothy, that was good as well. So I guess third was the most I could get out of it. So good and fine, yeah.
Country Rally, Peter. We saw a lot of crashes, probably a record amount in the first time. Have you practiced yet?
Nope. Like I said before, I never practice, I only race. So we'll see what happens.
Commitment. I like
I
it,
learned my
Peter.
racing, so yeah.
We'll see if
We'll
you
see.
raced enough at this point to learn Country Rally, because this was the big difference maker. It made Tim come from 6th to 1st. Good luck, Peter. Good luck all the races. As we head on to Country Rally, we catch our breath for the last time during the next 6 laps, because it's going to be breathtaking once more. We watch Tim on the front. I think they're all going to use their power-ups from the gate early on. They usually do, as Frank Garcia uses Razor's Edge when that is back. Last time he did this, he used corner caper too late. Has he learned? Ryan crashes. Yes, Frank has learned. Ryan crashes again. I think he said he crashed 4 times last time on this course. But Frank Garcia absolutely nailing the first 2 turns. And if there's a race Frank wants to win, it is this one. Watch as he takes on the rhythm. Neil Stewart crashes down. We're on Peter, who is further back. Does he stay left or he moves to the right? Frank, he's going to want to win this one. Dark Matter Velo, sudden lane change, country rally, few courses. They're just like this. There are rhythm courses, there are obstacles, and certain riders just have certain reputations of being really good at those courses. Frank Garcia on this is one of them. As Tim and Timothy move on up. Timothy winning the last race. He'll need all the points he can get because Peter, Frank, and Timothy, they're only separated by 4 points. So despite the performance in the last race from Frank's now in the lead and possibility to win. I think that's maybe put some life back into Frank as he realizes that if he goes on to win this, it is all back on. And this is where doing your homework and really like understanding the points allocation of the 3 races comes into play. Frank did his best in the last race, realizing, okay, I can sit up and finish where I finish, and saving that energy might be a big difference here as Vanessa crashes down and Timothy now moves on up. Frank on the front, Peter second on through. Those wind particles and the trees moving, that is in fact wind you're seeing. Wind that changes depending on where the course is. You heard Tim in the previous race say that. On this one, it comes from a different direction as Frank, the second time around, again, the salvo. You get 2 power-ups of each. You get 2 wind at your backs, 2 corner capers, and 2 racer's edges. Frank used both of his in the first laps, like the first 2 laps, he just used all his powers, and for the remaining of the race, he's gonna have to ride on pure cunning brilliance. If there's a man that can do it, it's most likely Frank Garcia, but it is a tough task on this specific course as we watch Peter Castro, the Flying Dutchman. He's only 7 seconds back, and he's got power-ups for days. And so does Timothy Termont. But we saw in the last race with Rick Woods, doesn't matter if you race 99% to perfection. Coming into the last lap, if you make that 1% mistake, that's the difference. As Timothy Termont, we're on him now here in third. The mustache man, the crowd favorite, the always smiling, always playing up to the camera. Last time he was on here, he was ordering pepperoni. He was making sure that everything was good at work. It's Timothy Termont, 189. Peter Castro, he moves on up. He's only 4 seconds down on Frank Garcia, and he is learning, but he's taking a few risks, moving around a lot, and suddenly you listen to the music and a beat comes on that you recognize, and that's when you end up just getting into that false state of security as you watch Racer's Edge, the power that makes you thin as a razor blade, makes you go quite quick when you're at speed. He comes on through now, and it's 3 seconds up to Frank. We'll see what happens when Frank gets caught, because one of 2 things is going to happen. He's either going to try and stick with Peter and Timothy, or he may just say, right, I've got nothing left. I'm racing Zone T later on tonight. I will rest up. But the Omnium is very much on. For preferred zones, Timothy's preferred zone is this, Ryan's preferred zone, Peter, and Nils Heldens. So riders are all up here racing for bonus points as Guillermo takes a seat, and we watch further down. You can see Kayla, she's down in 7th. She's got a battle with Renee. Renee and Kayla, good friends, but that just means the bragging rights are even bigger. Vanessa there too. Ryan's down there. Finished high up in the last race. He was 2nd, but a poor performance on this. It doesn't matter how well he did in the last race, as even though he had corner caper on, he crashes once more there at the very end. So Kayla Laguna comes through to the hay bales as well. We'll watch her dodge them, get through the corner safely as she starts her pursuit towards the top. But it's very close now, as Peter has made connection with Frank. They're now together. They've got 12 seconds on Timothy Termont. Timothy is currently in the lead, but I think with 3 Cycling Hub members surrounding him, what I would recommend from a bystander's point of view is to try and perhaps realize, right, the effort required to catch the front 2, is that worth the extra points I can get? If the answer is yes, dig in. If the answer is no, you've got 6 laps of Saturn coming up after this. You got to put on your spacesuit. You got to keep enough oxygen in the tank. Otherwise, newsflash, in space, there is no air to breathe. You got to be ready. You got to be recovered, and you've got to be good to go. And we'll see if Timothy Termont will make one small step, but one large step for mankind. kind as Peter and Frank. Oh, Peter's in difficulty here. Frank opens it up. Peter, it gets so close. We're gonna need an instant replay of that because that needs like a Mission Impossible soundtrack. It's like when he comes down and the lion just rips up. If Peter hits that barn door, he's gonna get caught by Timothy, and he's moving over, and I think 1 pixel more, and he gets a face full of wood. But luckily for him, there's no oak tree or there's no whatever barn doors are made of for Peter Castro as he safely navigates that thread. And with 3 kilometers to go, we're over halfway in the racing. We look at the scoreboard. Timothy, Peter, Frank, they're all very close at the top, taking back positions here in Country Rally and Saturn, the last race here. I hope you've enjoyed it, Mixer. We're doing 9 weeks of the CVRcade World Cup. Make sure to click that follow button down below. Later on today, my good friend and co-commentator Beth York will be broadcasting Zone T to you. That happens in about 7 hours from now. So if you're enjoying that, well, click that follow button below and you will be notified when we go live with even more racing. I can highly recommend because we get people like Matti Pikkelny in the broadcast, Casey Shum gets back, Jenna Garcia and Aaron Stalling will be on here, Alison Kubota will be back for more racing as well as Frank and Peter. 2.3 kilometers remaining between them. 2 laps left, I believe, as we watch them now. No power-ups remaining, and Tim and Timothy. This will be an interesting development between the two Timothys, Tim and Timothy, because whoever crosses in front in this race between them is whoever they have the most faith going into Saturn. Because Saturn is a 2.5 scoring multiplier event. It's rarely high, but Tim is currently leading on Timothy. You could see this as Tim trying to help Timothy, giving him a draft, show him the right line, but it could be Tim saying, come on, Timothy, we gotta do something here. We can't just sit back and rest. We gotta be making moves as other riders are closing down. But Peter on the front, applying the pressure to Frank. How much does Frank have left? Now, 500 from Peter, 400 from Frank, both taking risks. They're racing on gravel, so there are chances of them sliding out. Corner speeds around 44 is Peter. Oh, so brilliantly to West Point. But we're seeing the currency of pressure come in again. It is time to stock on up and get your cryptocurrencies of pressure coin as Peter Castro. You can just see him. I think he changes lanes 1 time too early, and that's the difference as he now has 10 seconds to make up and 12 seconds down. Timothy and Tim at this point can smell blood in the water. 1 crash from Peter, and once you open that can of worms, there's no putting it back in. Once the cat is let out of the bag, it's not going back in. 12 seconds up, 1 lap remaining. Frank has used all his power-ups. He's on his own. We watch from the side. Peter uses Razor's Edge. He comes into this fresh, and he's got to lay down the pressure now. As you can see, Timothy behind and Frank up the road. Winning this is as important as finishing second. You got to take those points away as Timothy and Tim now combined. They use wind at their back, and they come on through. There's no uncrashable. There's no corner. Well, there's corner caper. There's also, there's no quantum shifts. As corner caper from Timothy here. What? Oh, there, Timothy Tamont using corner caper, maybe just fat fingering it, but will it last through this corner? Will it last? No, it doesn't. Oh, that fat finger from Timothy Tamont. Oh, that will be heartbreak from Team Cycling Hub. Using the corner caper just 3 seconds too early. That 3 seconds is the difference between catching up to Peter and getting a face full of dirt. And now Timothy versus Vanessa. The two have gone head to head before. Vanessa has won the last time they raced. Will she take it back up? Meanwhile, on the front, Frank versus Peter. We're watching Peter here in the yellow. He is now attacking away, but Frank Garcia very much back in the racing. 2 points down. Saturn coming up next. You can never count a man out here as we get ready for more racing with the 3rd and last race of the evening. Saturn circuit complete. Peter Kastrup, wind at his back. He's accelerating. He wants to win this. He's got corner cable. It is not over. Here comes the log. Wind at his back. Frank on the left. Peter on the right. 10, 5, 6. Oh, Peter with a smile. That was close. Second time here with photo finishes between the front two. Frank winning that one. Peter Kastrup in second. Tim will be third, but the closer battle is between Timothy Tamont and Vanessa Morahan. There are some very important points up for grabs. Is there ever a chance from Tim to slow down? Does Tim wait at the finish line? No, he rides on through Timothy again. Oh, Timothy Tamont, the mustache man, soon to be the nearly there man as he crashes. And now Ryan Goldenberg, no, it'll be Timothy losing more valuable points as Vanessa beats him to the line. Let's watch Frank versus Peter as they sprinted towards the line on Country Rally. 6 laps, great back and forth affair. I think Frank raced with a point to prove as he raced brilliantly, did not make a single mistake on Country Rally. Coming into the sprint finish, wind at the back for Peter. He did end up crashing corner cable, narrowly escapes for the second time the obstacle on the right, but it just isn't there. And you can see the moment he realizes it. He looks up, allows himself a cheeky little smile, thinking, what could have been? But great racing nonetheless. Frank Garcia, congratulations. You used all your power-ups in your first 2 laps. What was the train of thought behind that way of racing?
Just make him catch you, right? So I didn't know if I'd have it, so it's also motivating to sort of be out front. Sometimes it's easier to work hard than it is to sit in someone's draft and work easy and just sort of get lazy. So luckily, I was able to make no mistakes, or luckily Peter made that one when he was trying to not let me draft. So karma, I guess, is what I would call that one, but good racing.
Saturn, last race of Zone L, Frank. You said you attacked away because you wasn't sure if you have it. Well, the question is, 6 laps of Saturn. Do you know if you have it or not at this point?
Oh, tell Peter I have it. And tell Timothy too. Tell him just let me go off the front, and I'll wave at them, and they can be happy.
On that note, Peter, 1 crash away. You were so close at the sprint finish. There was ones with the barn, ones with the obstacle on the ride. Country Rally, you're getting better. What was that like to race this time around?
Yeah, it's fun when you get better at it. Sometimes I had to look where the arrow keys were on my keyboard, and I managed to press the right keys just in time before I crashed. So I was happy with that, but maybe I have to change the setup so I can more easily switch lanes. But yeah, I think I did well. I didn't want to work with Frank anymore because I think he wanted to make me crash, but I'm not sure. Maybe it was by accident. But then I made a stupid mistake by turning inside just before a corner, and I crashed. But I nearly caught him in the end, so that was good. It was a fun race.
I am glad to hear that, Peter.
Yeah.
Heading into Saturn, I want the last word from the Cycling Hub camp because we got 55 seconds to go in this great racing. Tim, 50 seconds to go. What's the current state of affairs in Team Cycling Hub bus chat?
I have no idea because my game's just frozen up.
Oh,
so I'm
is
just
the shame.
trying to get back in. So
We'll let you get back in.
But if not, we haven't made it, but it'd been a good fight.
I'm sure somewhere Timothy is on his hands and knees praying for Tim Fulford to get back in because he's going to need all the help he can get. Thanks, Tim. 20 seconds to go. This is the last race from Zone K, Zone L. If you've enjoyed it, down below there is a follow button. When you click that, you get a notification when we go live. Today, it's been me, Jesper Anchor, on the comms. Beth York will take over later today. And so if you do not want to miss that broadcast, I recommend clicking the button down below. Tim Fulford did not make it in, and that will severely change the outcome of this race now. As Joyce DeSmit is getting in the racing, so towards the later end, she's getting in and she wants to help her teammate here at Velocity Vixen, Ryan Goldenberg, in third place. So Velocity having numbers. Beth York is also in here in the racing, so they're showing up now and trying to finish off the evening in great style. Definitely the breakout performance of anyone today has been Velocity Vixen. They're recruiting, they're racing. Tim has made it back, but I think he may just be off the back though on this group. So now we watch Timothy, Frank, Peter. Those are the three racers within a shot at the top. But Ryan Goldenberg potentially could upset it, but he's going to need a lot of things to go his way. Niels Heldens also with a good performance today, but he's been a quiet performer so far. As Peter Kastrup on the front, yellow CCC kit. You can see him attack away now as you've got different power-ups to use. You got weight lifted, inertia, path of least resistance. How they get used makes a massive difference. And the bots are in there as well. They're doing 344 equalized watts. You've got Margaret, Wilbur, Thomas, etc. Orville. They're going to be a difference maker as we got Frank Garcia using... I think this may be earlier on. We watch further back. Got Frank. I actually thought that was earlier on, but no, it wasn't. Frank Garcia was off the back. Excuse me for a moment. I got all caught up in the bot royalty as Frank having to use inertia to get back on. So not the ideal start in the CVRcade team chat. And they're 2 seconds down on the three riders up the road. Coming into the tight left-hand turn, we watch now as all the bots take a tumble. They come on through now, and Frank is up here with the rest. 5 riders up here. Joyce 6 seconds back. Beth 6 seconds back. Homer 6 seconds back. So we have our selection of 5 riders. Now anything can happen given the right selection of power-ups, as Ryan gets very lucky not to crash into Frank. Frank uses path of least resistance here to come on through. And as he beats Timothy to the front, he is now in the driving seat, the virtual leader. And we've got 6 laps of Saturn here, and that's going to be the end of the Mixer broadcast. I thoroughly hope you've enjoyed it, because it's not often that we have a chance of having Channel 1 here from the start, and having you here watching the racing from start to finish. It really makes it worth it for us, and really makes it entertaining to have new eyes on it. As Peter Kastrup in third. Bringing down the scoreboard, as you can see, Frank, Peter, and Timothy only between 20 points differentiate them. And then Ryan, if he can go into first place, he's going to need some things to go his way when you play Yahtzee. He needs the die to fall his way, but it is possible mathematically. But Frank Garcia, kudos to the effort from this man, putting down the power to try and keep the Hungry Wolves at bay. He uses his second inertia. If there's a guy, there's a person in CVRcade, thanks to physical equalization, racing at all equal terms, who can stay away, it's Frank. Frank has got that power, but Peter, Timothy, Ryan, Joyce, Nils, Heldens, Kayla, Homer, Beth, they're going to be close on his heels. You can see Peter, second place. He's yet to use any of his power-ups. He's at higher heart rate, but yet to use any of his power-ups. He is going to keep the pressure high. There are pressure points on Saturn. You saw it in Zone K. There is the left-hand turn, the tight left-hand turn after the up downs. Then there's the spiral, and then the chicane towards the S turn. That all comes in the latter part of this track. So the beginning, you kind of get to feel out the legs. You either get to rest or sit in, but then come the end, that's where you've got to be on it. Frank and Peter now, first and second. Timothy, without Tim Fulford, he's going to need to enlist the help of Nils Heldens. He needs to usher Nils Heldens. Come on up. Come to the front. Do the pacing. Come on. I need you to get back to Peter and Frank, because 9 seconds down, it could be all over, as Ryan has got help from his teammates in Joyce Smith and Beth York out on course as well. They catch Timothy Tamont and they leave him in the dust just like that. Great racing on Roman Arena from Timothy, but Country Rally, crash once, crash twice, and there are some very valuable points. So he'll be looking back on thinking, what ifs, what could have been, should have been, would have been, but it won't be. As Timothy, almost crashing again, but he stays safe. On the front, Frank versus Peter. Peter might have the freshness to his advantage as Frank just behind him. That iconic avatar that we see him raise always on Fantastical Racing. He's going to try and catch on to Peter Castro. Peter doesn't do much homework, doesn't do much practice. I mean, his teachers, they are on his case all the time, but you know, when dogs get involved and suddenly they lose it. But what comes to matter is when it comes to exams, when it comes to testing, that's what really shows. That's what's going to be your marks. And we're seeing that with Peter now. Head to head versus Frank. Oh, on the limit there from Peter Castro. But he comes on through and Frank is ready to go. Frank is at a disadvantage. He doesn't have any inertias left, while I believe Peter Castro has all of his. And you look further down, Ryan Goldenberg, path of least resistance, weight lifted. He could be loading up here for an inertia. He is sprinting everything he's got, 50 kilometers an hour, 1,000 equalized watts, and he is the first one into the straight-on headwind. You move to the left and out of the headwind. 5 seconds up to Frank, 5 seconds up to Peter, and Ryan, he wants to move a step up on the podium. Remember, this is the last week of the open session. As we move in to the bracketed session next week, whoever wins the Elite Omnium Series finish in the bracketed session will take home $3,000. $3,000 from racing your bike, from riding your bike, from getting fit. That's unheard of. Professional racers don't even win 3,000 bikes from winning bike races. But you, anyone, thanks to physical equalization, has a chance of winning $3,000. But get on now. Get on. Get practicing. Get equalized. Get to grip with the controls. Even seasoned raiders like Peter Castro is like, maybe I should move my keyboard. And Peter's raced for a long time. So that's what we're seeing now. Frank, Peter, Ryan in the front. Joyce DeSmith. I'm really sad we don't have Joyce on the broadcast. Same for Timothy, because Joyce, when she shows up, she's like a black. Oh, Frank crashes. Oh, trying to search for that draft. I think that could be spirits broken. Look as Frank, he's on the wheel. You're searching for the draft. The wind changes. Frank lets Ryan come on through. He wants to get on the wheel. And as he moves to the left, 1 pixel, head down, spirits down. And Frank down in 4th. He's not quite given up yet, but with no power-ups left and Joyce making it to the front, the advantage is in the Flying Dutchman's corner. It's all yellow now. And very confidently, at the beginning of Zone L, Peter Castro said, I don't know what happened to CCC in the first race, but all I know is I've got classical music, and we're about to change things up here in Zone L. And changing things up, he is. Now, what would it require for Peter to get dropped? Because it is Peter's preferred zone. Peter is also broadcasting in, getting all the ticks. He is in pole position, and he is where he wants to be. For the secondary positions, though, Frank, Ryan, Timothy, they're all very close. As Timothy uses his inertia, he's trying to get the betterment of Frank, but knowing Peter crashes. Oh, Peter goes down in the S-turn. Joyce crashes. And Ryan is on his own off the front. The gap has closed down. If Timothy nails Frank catch up to Peter and Ryan wins, he's got a chance. It's his preferred, so he's streaming in, and they just crashed. 5 seconds between them. Ryan is off in glory. Timothy Tamont, 6 seconds down on Joyce, 6 seconds down on Peter. He is trying it too here. You can see path of the least resistance. Sorry, I'm looking all over the screen. I've got statistics, I've got data, I've got all these sort of things. And I'm making sure to bring you all the latest and best and how the racing is unfolding, so you can sit back with your Kool-Aid, with your crisps, your popcorn, your chocolate, your Swedish fish, whatever you're choosing to have as your substance for tonight's racing. Well, cheers, and thank you so much for tuning in. As could be even Doritos. Peter Castro, though, on the screen. Path of least resistance. That may not run out in time. It's ticking down. If that doesn't run out before that corner, oh, 1. We're going to see 2. Oh, it runs up. Path of least resistance, as you heard me say before, reduces the friction. But oh, Joyce behind Peter. Oh, no, Joyce. It's ticking. It's like a ball. Oh, she's going to crash. Oh, she's going to crash. I was saying it's ticking like a clock. You can just see it tick, 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 getting that advantage. They said, oh, she blocks Timothy. Oh, she inadvertently just slams the door on Timothy. And while you watch, imminent crash from Joyce. Oh, as Joyce crashes again. Oh, Joyce, no. This is brilliant racing. She crashes. What happened in that instant replay is as she was making it back, Timothy Timon was coming through with all this speed, and it just went whoosh, and she slammed right into the back. And because the delta momentum is enforced, that's going to be the case. So Frank back up, only 4 seconds down on Timothy, and he's now with Niels Heldens, Joyce DeSmit, and Homer Thompson. Over halfway in the racing. Next time we cross the start-finish banner, it'll be 2 laps to go, and Ryan and Peter. Ryan standing up like a spin class instructor going, come on, Peter, what do you got? What do you got? Let's see it. Onto the spiral, onto the climb. He now accelerates. He's passed Timothy Timont in the rankings despite being 4th or 3rd on the road. Ryan is now 3rd and looking to take an additional spot up. He can take on Frank and move into 2nd place. 4.3 Ks to go, and Peter Kastrup now. Will he make the same mistake twice? He crashed the last time coming into this, and he's now fighting. You can see him on the keyboard. He's reaching over. It's in an awkward position. He's got to turn his body every time. And now he moves to the right. He's got to be careful. This is how he crashed last time. Going in too hard, and everyone has got different approaches when it comes to that corner. But regardless, they've got 23 seconds on Timothy and Frank. And as they fight for it, they're fighting. Timothy puts a block on Frank. You watch them cross the line. 2 laps to go. 2 technical laps of Saturn left. It's going to be good to watch. Timothy Timont 3rd. Frank's down here in 4th as well. They come on through. Frank barely touches the wheel. Lucky for it to be classified as a bump. Oh, Niels Heldens, Joyce DeSmit. Oh, the Flanders riders both. 1, 2 crashing into the corner as Peter Kastrup, while that's happening, is using the diversion to attack off the front. He's got inertia being used. Does Ryan have enough to counter that punch? He's accelerating behind him. The gap is only 2 seconds, and you can see him up the road. There's probably no threat of being caught at this point, so all you got to do is make sure to be within Peter if you're Ryan. So if Peter attacks, you follow. If Peter sits up, you sit up, and you sit there back and forth. But Ryan needs that first spot, because if he doesn't win Saturn, he finishes 4th. If he wins, he finishes 3rd. And if Timothy beats Frank, he finishes 2nd, I believe. So we're watching that now as Peter uses path of least resistance again. This is always a nerve-wracking moment, because the quicker you go, the more you'll slide out. So he slides once, but it runs out. You can see him being very careful in the usage. Path of least resistance is up there as one of my favorite power-ups. Very, very powerful when used correctly. But when used incorrectly, you can just see it go tick, tick, tick. Oh, no! Can you just hear it from miles away? But not the case this time. As Ryan in the pursuit of Peter Kastrup. Once more, he wants to get back up there. Has he got any power-ups left? When we touch when we cross the start-finish banner the next time, that'll mark the last lap of racing. The fight for 1st and 2nd is closed. The fight for 3rd and 4th as well. But it has implications on the Omnium. It's Timothy's preferred zone. It's Ryan and Peter's preferred zone, but not Frank's. Meaning that there are points on offer as Peter accelerates, stands up. You can see the camera just coming to a standstill in that great camera angle on the spiral. Peter using weight lifted, 800 equalized watts. We keep an eye though here, because Peter has crashed before. Has he learned? Will the tranquility of the classical music, hopefully being played on an old school gramophone for maximum effect, will it be enough? 36 kilometers an hour. Peter comes on through. He gets safely. Ryan Goldenberg in the meanwhile 10 seconds back. Niels Heldens forgetting to lock his bike and seeing somebody else run away with it. He can wipe the tears off as he's now down in 6th. Ryan, weight lifted, path of least resistance. He's kept this in the tank. Does he have inertia too? Into that headwind. He accelerates 1,050. He uses inertia. He passes Beth, his teammate. This is the last lap of racing. Can Ryan move on up in the overall standings in the Omnium? 4 seconds between him and Peter, crossing from a headwind into a crosswind, soon into a tailwind. Peter, as well, with inertia, uses at 49 on the tailwind. So he's catching his breath. So the attack from Ryan being countered by Peter, both using inertias, but like knowing Ryan, he's going to want this. He's going to turn himself inside out. He's going to have a Ben & Jerry's after this with a million flavors or whatever that was called. He can think of it in the fridge, in the freezer. But to get it, you've got to earn it first. You've got to pour everything you've got. You've got to earn every single calorie. But Peter Castro is saying, not on my watch. I want to take the stage. I want to take the win in the Omnium. I want to represent Team CCC. And somewhere, Nigel Doyle is watching, Ben Shuey along, Thomas Tibbling. They're all sitting there going, come on, Peter, come on, you can do it. And with a kilometer to go, it looks good for the Flying Dutchman, but you never know. Pressure is rising, and that's when you see mistakes. Peter, though, calming down. 192. He's in his ace. We stop the camera. Peter in the yellow comes on through. We tick the clock. There's Ryan for Velocity Vixen in second place. He's got a chance to apply pressure. If he's got any more power-ups left, you've got to start thinking about where to use them. You've got 600 meters to go. You've got 40 seconds on Frank and Timothy in third and fourth. But the battle is on. Canada versus the Netherlands. Peter has entered the spiral. He will turn on left now. He's going down to 30 kilometers an hour here. So he's keeping a safe passage through. He accelerates. He's still got a weight lifted. Peter Castro, the absolute genius here racing, accelerates, spinning, and he'll get over the top, increase his advantage, and not only increases his advantage on the time board, but I think mentally, like those nails are starting to hit the coffin. 1, 2, 3. We're missing the fourth one. Coming through the spot of the edge chicane. Stop the camera. Peter's been through, and you can see the gap is immenting. Peter safely through. He's got the finish line left. That is all he needs to do. He's got 50 meters to go for Peter Castro on the front. 193 equalized heart rate, and he's just gonna soak it in, enjoy it. Hard-fought stage. Happy with that one. Winning the Omnium, as now secondary positions will be on the line. As you can see, Ryan will cross. The scoreboard seems to have been, at least on my side, I think it still looks fine on the stream, as you can now watch Ryan second, Timothy and Frank. Timothy has used inertia. He's still got that left, and he's fighting to come on through. As you can see, Timothy Tamont, oh, so you're going to overcook this corner. He's still got power on at the front. Comes through, slows down to 29. Not risking it for the biscuit. It's not chocolate chip. It's raisins. He doesn't want any of that. And with 50 meters to go, he can be happy with his performance. Same can be said about Frank. Second race in a row. Not sure if he had it. He came back on Country Rally, and in this one, has done himself proud. That one pixel, if he could take it back, I think that is the pixel he would want back today. But great racing all around. Joyce de Smet, Niels Heldens, we'll watch them come to the line. They're sprinting it out. Niels Heldens will find himself beat by Joyce de Smet of Velocity Vixen in fourth. And that is the racing on Saturn. Let's watch the replay of Peter Castro having his victory stroll on Saturn Circuit Complete Avenue, as relatively hard race, if I must say myself, watching it. It looked tough. It was back and forth. Power-ups looked to be good. Really, really well done by all racers to get through. If you've done both zones, you deserve 2 Ben & Jerry's tonight. As Peter sits up, enjoys the last meters, as he knows he's taking this once. Looks down, looks up, can't really believe it, catching his breath. Peter, congratulations, winning the Omnium Preliminary, I think with a bonus point as well. 3 races today. How did you like that compared to the usual 4?
I think I like this better because the races are a bit longer. And if you make a mistake, you still have a chance to come back. You may have noticed, but sometimes I crash. It's very nice it's very nice to have some road left to come back, like I did in the last race as well, where I crashed once again. And Ryan was riding very strong, so I had a hard time catching up with him. It was a tough race. I think my heart rate was all the time around 190, so I really feel it.
That seems to be a common trend all around. When you found yourself with Frank, with Ryan in the front, was there ever a thought, oh, I'm not going to be able to beat these two riders?
My first thought was we can work together. I know Frank will work when he's in the front group. I think he crashed, bumping into another rider, changing lanes, so it was a pity. And then I crashed, of course, just when Ryan and Joyce were coming back to me. So I had to try to catch Ryan again. But it would have been nice to ride with the three of us in front, and maybe with Joyce also there with the four of us, but it wasn't meant to happen. But it worked out this way as well. So
good racing all around, Peter. Congratulations. We'll get a few words from Ryan and Frank before we head to the replays. Ryan, once more the bridesmaids on this course. It's been a tough 2 zones. How many scoops of Ben & Jerry's do you think you burned today?
Ben & Jerry's, Haagen-Dazs, Breyers, whatever you prefer, send it my way. I'll be a happy man.
It was good to watch. It was really, really entertaining to watch. Was it as fun to race today?
Oh, it was really fun. I wasn't sure that I would like the 3-race setup, the 3 events, but we took the no skill out from previous Omniums, and I actually like that one because I've tended to do well whether it's skill or luck. But I had a good time today, and legs are definitely hurting. I mean, I knew I could go hard from the start of Zone L. I just didn't know how long it would last. Somewhere around lap 4 of Saturn, where I was like, oh yeah, I think I'm bonking now. Didn't have enough of these guys.
That's funny.
But no, it was fun. Congratulations, Peter.
What's on the hanging rope? What's in store? What can we expect of Velocity Vixen going forward? You went out, you recruited some very, very strong individuals. What can we expect from the purple and orange?
Not sure what the last count was. I think we have 6 that are definitely committed to the World Cup, and maybe a couple others that may be in the mix that we may have seen before. So I'll let you ponder who those may be. But we're definitely going to be there. We're strategizing, figuring out when we're going to race, how we can support each other. If my legs don't fall off on Tuesdays, I'll try to help my team on Thursday and or Saturday. But no, expect to see us there for sure.
Brilliant. Now, Frank Garcia, that 1 pixel on a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you hate that 1 pixel right now?
I might have liked that pixel. It was hurting. So I was disappointed to go down because I thought, get in the draft. And I guess I was just a little bit over eager. So there you go. Down I went. I don't think I could have beat Peter anyway. So then I just played for second. Luckily, a couple of people crashed in front of me when I was out of second for the Omnium. So then it was just a matter of just trying to hold off those people coming back and use as little power as possible to the end. That was the first race where the Vixens went out in K and put the hurt on. That hurt me all like for the next 4 races. So that was a good tactic on their part.
I like that development that a team can come out and just handicap everybody else by going incredibly hard in one race. Do you think that's something we'll see more of now with teams coming out with numbers and really having that team play dynamic on CVRcade?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think the team dynamic, it was pretty funny because we had planned to do it on the second hill. the hill before the finish line, and they just went out first. And it's way better to be putting the hurt on than to be having the hurt put on. So chasing was difficult at best, and they were taking turns at the front, and it was hard. And it was just hard, sitting in. They were about to ride us. Well, they rode a lot of people off their wheel. It was all I could do to stay. And then, of course, you get near the end, though, and then you're like, well, maybe they're tired, or maybe they're not, because they had a pretty efficient pace line. And a lot of times you use less energy that way. So interesting racing. Didn't quite work out for them in the end, so maybe they overcooked it a little bit, but I expect to see lots more of that.
Sign of things to come. Thank you, Frank. It's been really good to watch the racing today. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Before we shut down shop for today, first I urge you, click that follow button. It takes 2 seconds out of your day, and it warms everybody's heart here at CVRcade. The race is me and the production team. But you've got 10 minutes to do so, because we're going to show you all the highlights. If you tuned in at the beginning, or you left and you came back, or you came in midway, here's all the great displays of courage, mistakes, and all the other things in between that were on display here on the CVRcade World Cup stream today. We started with the first race in Zone K on Roman Arena. I think by many doomed to be one of the toughest races they have done on CVRcade, and in particular the CVRcade World Cup. And this was in many thanks to Velocity Vixen, Carl Axel Sander, Vibeke Bertram, highly quality signings on behalf of Velocity Vixen. Kayla here, the eventual winner of Roman Arena, used Quantum Shift to attack through the group. She thought there was going to be some blocking, so she opted to use that counterplay measure of Quantum Shift. Then the comeback kit. Further on the racing, when everyone had fresh legs, still somewhat, Casey, Frank used their comeback kits in tandem, but the sprint finish was going to be between Ryan Goldenberg, Carl Axel Sander, and Kayla Laguna. But Kayla, at 199 equalized heart rate, she never really was to recover from this afterwards, but at least she can be proud to have won what many say is one of the toughest races they've raced on CVRcade. We heard Casey say it, Frank said, Ryan said it, Kayla said it. Look, I can assure you she's fine, but that face at the end, that looked quite enough. Then Country Rally, power-ups, left, right, center, top, down. Frank, though, one power-up too many, and the cream on the top, the cherry as well, is the corner caper. Everybody has been there. It's even worse when it's inertia, when you hit the side of the road. Nigel, Jeff, Ben, Rick, everybody here taking a tumble, coming to the start-finish banner. Tim coming on through. As Alison Kubota just getting blocked here. Wasn't really her night of racing, but she'll be back for more racing in Zone T later on. So if you are an Alison fan, as she takes a tumble right after the start finish, she'll be racing more tonight here in Zone T of the CVRcade World Cup Open Sessions, week 4 out of 4. Casey Shum, though, he wanted more in this race. He really wanted to take the win, and he was up there. He was fighting. He was gaining points back towards the overall omnium. But how much did that sap out of him as we come to the end? It was Rick and Tim in the best position to take the win on Country Rally. You can see Rick just making his way back up side by side with Tim. They entered the final corner. Tim said, I'm sure it's 44. That is the corner speed, and 44 it was, as Rick Woods gets to understand and learn there. So by the side of the road, Rick Woods went. Tim Fulford happy with that one. So we get the Kemper Mutombo finger back here going, no, as Tim takes the win. Takes the win in the windy Country Rally. Third last race in Zone K, the zone where you could take $50 by being the best play Team CVRcade member. We're pending the finalized results, but I think Tim is perhaps the only one. You'll know for certain later on when the points get added for streaming and for racing your preferred zone. So that will change. Then we see Saturn. It was close at the front. Frank, Casey, Carl, Tim, everybody pushing out big numbers as Ryan Goldenberg also put on a stellar performance. Tim makes a mistake. He said he was too focused on making Rick make a mistake that he ended up making a mistake himself. And Ryan, slowly but surely, Mr. Consistent on the day, always up there, despite being the bridesmaid. At least he was at the wedding, as you can see. Ryan coming on through here. A very tough Saturn race. Goes down, and he just he's so unhappy with that one, and I don't blame him. Coming into the sprint, it was going to be close. Tim had power-ups left. He used them on the hill. He attacked away, and then Rick versus Ryan. Rick crashes at the end, just a bit over-eager as Tim uses the power-up, sprints on through, takes the win on Saturn, and also takes the preliminary overall win in the Omnium Zone K. Then it was time for the second zone tonight here, Mixer. It was time for Zone L. Kale Laguna, earlier on, she was struggling a bit. She used Comeback Kid early on to get back up, but it was Timothy Tamont who found himself in uncharted territory. Somebody should have given him a map, because he's not known to be up there, but at least he was able to find the GPS on his phone. Eventually ended up winning Roman Arena. And Google Maps had a big play to pay in that, as he held off the chasing riders, taking every turn correctly and pacing himself very nicely. But it was a strategic race, and Comeback Kid, to many, a power-up that's been missed, and it really spices things up because it's so powerful. And with no crashing in this, you have to use it at the right time. And the later you use it, the higher of an advantage you have. As you can see, Tim using Comeback Kid here on the front. It was Tim, it was Peter, and Timothy coming back. Tim looking up, not sure if he saw something, as it might have been something top left-hand corner, perhaps his stash of extra Comeback Kits, but at least he didn't get to use them in this race. As they cross the start-finish banner, here they go, Roman Arena. We looked over the shoulder, and you count the cameraman by the side of the road, waiting. He didn't have to wait long, as there comes the chasing on group. Peter Kastrup on the front, attempting to beat Timothy Tamont. He sprinted. I do think he uses Comeback Kit at that moment, but it's the exact moment that Ryan Goldenberg comes from behind. And it's just a soul-crushing moment as Ryan, Peter, Timothy, realizing that it's Ryan Goldenberg, his arch nemesis, breathing down his neck. But Ryan Goldenberg, too little, too late. The difference of a meter or two that he knows exactly where could be gained. Country Rally! It's time to do it again. It's a great course, got obstacles, and you've got to be attentive. Corner caper this time from Frank being used at the right moment. First lap and second lap. And he put on a masterclass performance in how to race Country Rally. Coming through the barn door, Ryan Goldenberg catches up to a rider. He used corner caper as well. And despite using, I think he overlaps wheels. The camera angle wasn't that forgiving, but this is the moment. Peter Castro puts on his Tom Cruise expression. And can you believe it? He gets right on through at the exact moment possible to not crash on the barn door. Peter not happy with that crash, though, as he ends up taking a tumble. And then the last lap of racing, we watch from the side, Peter Castro flying on by with racer's edge. He wants this victory. Country Rally, but it was going to be too little too late. And Timothy Tamont, I don't know if a crumb or a fat fingering or something got stuck in the power-up button, but he uses corner caper maybe 3 or 4 seconds too early. And that means it runs out, which negates the ability when you sprint into a corner. It runs out, and then you can just get a mop as Peter Kastrup, second time around, getting very fortunate not to crash into the side. He attempts to catch Frank Garcia, but nah, he's happy with second place. Saves some leg from Saturn Circuit Complete. This is the 6th and final race of the day, the 3rd of Zone L. Some very important points on offer in this one. Anything could happen, but early crashes took a few races out. I think Frank may have crashed it. I did miss it. I'll be honest and say that's one of the few things that got past my nose. As you can see, Frank Garcia making his way back in. Riders crashing. Then Frank using path of least resistance on the incline, wanting to be the one putting down the herd rather than in a chasing position trying to get back on. Peter, here he comes on through. Is this where he makes the mistake? No, he barely gets through without crashing, as Ryan Goldenberg in the Velocity Vixen colors uses inertia. Power up, when used correctly, can be very, very strong, but when used incorrectly, can be the difference between a podium and a bottom 10 place. Frank, though, The 1 pixel. The 1p. Oh, so close. Heart-wrenching, gut-wrenching, but Frank Garcia, perhaps a saving grace, meaning he didn't have to go as hard. Peter Castro takes a crash. Joyce to Smith. Ryan really needed Joyce to come with him, but she crashes as well as the pursuit starts for the riders. Then we watch Joyce path of least resistance. Oh, that is a good highlight. I enjoyed that. Joyce, well done for racing. I'm sorry for laughing at your misfortune, but you'll get it next time, hopefully. As Ryan crosses the line, he's got Peter close behind. We watch the Saturn on the left. We're on the rings. As Peter Castro with a astronomical effort today to win Zone L here, but Ryan Goldenberg doing his best impression of the Mars rovers, trying, curiosity, trying to get back up there, but foreign objects were not able to be obtained as Ryan Goldenberg attempting to get back up, but you can see the countdown. It's just ticking. It's too long. Coming into the finish line. Peter Castro going down Saturn Circuit Complete Avenue, taking the praise, taking it all in, soaking it in. He's got his Factor 50 on. He can take it, and he wins not only Saturn Circuit Complete, but also the day here in Zone L. If you've enjoyed the racing and you've been here from start to finish, and this is your first time watching it, there's a follow button down below. I've said it a few times. If you click it, you get notifications when we go live. It means the world to us. We race Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. We race often, we race hard, but we race, most importantly, fun. And if you've been taken in by the fun, the laughs, the smiles, the sweat, the tears, head over to CVRcade.com. I'm sure there's a link in the chat. Click over there, click download now, register, get racing. We'll be racing tonight in Zone T, roughly 7 hours from now. Otherwise, we'll be back this exact same time on Thursday with more racing. Until then, my name has been Jesper Anker, and we'll see you.
But no, Beth York goes crashing down. Determination, the suffering, the ability to... And she's unleashed everything in this attack. See just how much that win means to him. All the marvels. Kayla versus Allison, and to the line. Kayla Laguna takes the victory.